Right, I've got a question for you. When was the last time you practiced an emergency stop on your bike? The answer is likely to be on your CBT, right? Probably the first time you ever did it. Well, this here at Donington Park, we've set up, it's called MotoDNA, and it's a new concept. It's like they call it a virtual motorcycle coach. So the idea here is there's 5 different exercises you perform and you get an assessment, not by a person, but by data. You've got a GoPro strapped to the bike and it records your acceleration, your braking and your lean angles, and it computes and spits out a result and tells you how good you are, how smooth you are. So I'm going to have a go at the exercises and we're going to find out how good or bad I am. Let's have a look. MotoDNA belongs to this gentleman, Mark McVeigh. Mark, thank you very much for inviting me down.
Thanks, Mike.
Tell me about it. So this is, you've come across from Australia, haven't you? You are an Australian.
Not with an accent like this, but expat, born in Belfast, but went to Australia 30 years ago and been there ever since.
Tell me a bit more about the origins of MotoDNA. Why did you set it up?
You know, as you go through life and you get to, different sort of junctures and crossroads, and you swerve and you weave. And I guess if it goes back to when I was riding on the road, and like so many motorbike riders, like we all know somebody that's been killed on the road, and it was the same for me. My best mate was killed when we were teenagers. Anyway, went racing and did okay, raced internationally, in the era with, McWilliams, raced against Olivier, Jacques, Leconie, McKenzie, all those guys. I'm also an engineer, so I went into, it was Grand Prix 500s then in the 90s, initially as a mechanic. And then I ended up down under in Australia, did a little bit of work in cars, but there wasn't really, the type of work that I wanted in Australia. So I kind of created the work that I wanted and started a motorbike school. And ran that for 10 years.
This is all about training?
All training.
And then from that, MotoDNA was born?
Yeah, so MotoDNA originally was the physical school. And I guess, woke up in the middle of the night with the light bulb moment. I'm going to use data. So having this sort of understanding of how to ride, and then the motorcycle dynamics from the engineering, and then running the school, you really understood about the psychology of people and riders. So, came up with this idea, built a prototype, and it seemed to be good enough. And our lucky moment was we approached Yamaha in America for a potential investment, and Yamaha said, listen, we're really interested in this. And they had a guy in Australia who was kind of like the Japanese version of me, the same goals and mission and expectations, and we partnered up and with Yamaha Japan, and 3 years we developed this data-driven technology. So we had eye tracking, steering, torque, all the different sensors, and really got a deep understanding of riders' behaviors. And then from there we developed the product for the customer. We had to use a more simple hardware, so we picked the GoPro. So now we're starting here with Phoenix at the Bennett Stay. And running the Street Skills 101 drills that you can see happening behind us.
So Street Skills is made up of 5 elements, is that correct?
Yeah, we've got those different drills, and the idea is that they recreate in a controlled environment that you can simulate their hazards on the road. So we have a figure 8 circuit, which is great because we can get the rider to really use the throttle, the brake, the steering, their body, their vision, and give them really direct feedback on that. And then we have the emergency stop, which is pretty common, but most people that we find, the bikes are capable of slowing down at, maybe 1.2, 1.3 G. All bikes can kind of do that, but we find the riders are maybe braking at half of that. So we want to get them closer to the limit of their bike. And then we have drills that are not so common, like this one here, which is the corner avoidance. So that is directly related to head-ons and corners. And we teach the rider not to look at the car if it's on their side of the road, but to swerve and brake then to avoid the car and that head-on situation.
That'd be target fixation, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly right.
And so you're using school bikes, just standard bikes, just with and everyone's equipped with a GoPro, and that records all of the data to do with lean angles and acceleration and deceleration.
Exactly right, yeah. So the customers can bring their own bikes. Phoenix Motorcycle Training they have the UK license for MotoDNA to run these street skills. You can use Phoenix's bike, and Phoenix can provide the GoPro as well, so you don't need your own GoPro. But essentially the GoPro records your video, and then it's also got a good GPS on there and accelerometers, so we can see how you use the throttle, brake, steer, and then use the video vision element as well.
So it's all data based, isn't it? And then you plug in the GoPro into a system that you've developed, and all of a sudden you've got the results and a score.
Exactly. So when you finish doing the drills, we just upload your video to the platform, and literally in a split second, the data is kind of embedded in the video. Within a split second, it rips all the data out. The algorithms, there's about 100 algorithms. They automatically interpret the data and then measure and grade your scores compared to thousands of other riders. So we look at your throttle, brake, and steering, and then your overall skill score. And then for these drills, you actually also get a separate score for the drills. And then it's kind of like gamified as well. So we want to make it fun. So we create leaderboards, who's the best on the throttle and who's the best, with the braking. And then the riders can go away and compare themselves to their mates, to the instructors, or to benchmarks, and really understand what their level is objectively.
So a lot of people out there their ears will prick up as soon as they hear competition, gamification, but it's a fun way of engaging people and making them aware of how to get better at hazard avoidance.
To be a good rider on the road, really there's three pillars. There's skill, which is their ability to control the bike. And then there's a craft element, so the road craft, it's commonly known. So, the hazard perception, riding defensively, those things. And then the third element is the mind, the attitude. And we are developing the system to data drive all three of those things eventually on the open road. For now, we've got the skills element in a controlled environment. That's kind of like giving us the learnings to develop the new systems.
Okay. So if I have a go, I do these 5 tasks, and then I get a score and some sort of direct feedback. Obviously it's going to be super accurate because it's based on the identical GoPro algorithms from every single person who's done this around the world.
Exactly.
Data driven.
All
right, Mark, thank you. Let's
I
best go and grab my helmet then,
yeah,
shall I?
Let's see you out there.
All right, before we go and get our scores, I'm going to talk to Lucia. She's just been doing the same course as I have. So, what attracted you to come along here today?
Just the idea that you can practice drills and then see the data for it, and then if you want to redo it, so we can just getting better and better.
So you're not getting subjective advice, you're getting actual data-driven
advice.
Yes,
exactly. I love that on the track days when you get the little computers and you can see how much you're improving. So apply the same thing to the road. It's just, I don't know, it's just great, I think.
And this is just the start of it, as well. There's going to be so many more different levels of this. I think this is going to develop. What do you, in terms of the things that you've learned today, the 5 different tasks, do you think there was a good spread of what to learn? It was all quite fast, wasn't it? I thought we
It was fast, yeah. I wasn't surprised. And they even tell you it's like go as fast as you can. It's just the simple things that you don't practice on the road when you ride all the time. Yeah. So learn those in a safe environment on somebody else's bike. It's great.
So you come to these days, I don't know about you, but I came here and I thought, well, I can do an emergency stop and I can do a figure of 8, but until you start to pick up those little nuances, those little things where it's just, drop your elbow and think about your core, and all those extra little bits, which I guess is all part of the learning process. I don't know about you, but I took a lot from this.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I feel like I improved on basic things that you don't practice, but you really need in case once something's happened.
Do you think you'll be going back to road riding with a different frame of mind?
Yes, absolutely.
What do you think you'll be looking at?
One of the tasks that we did was this circle behind us, and you kind of have to avoid the curb or stop by the curb, avoid the problem in front of you. And I never actually thought about that, and I found it really difficult to practice. So that is something that I will apply to the road.
It's like concentric circle, isn't it? Or,
Yes.
or a never-ending...
Corner.
Yeah,
And
never-ending
how
corner.
if something is in the middle of the corner, how to avoid it so you don't go to the opposite direction or something, you stop by the curb.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Enjoy your trip back.
Thank you.
All right, guys, everybody, well done. Yeah, good to see the improvements in the drills, and yeah, now we've got everybody's data uploaded onto the digital platform. Let's have a look, see. So if we jump in, click on the car, this is Michael's. It opens up this dashboard. So on the dashboard, you get the information on your drills at the top, your scores. Creates a leaderboard on the left here, so you can see all the different riders, sorted by who's got the highest skill overall, or the lowest skill, or who's on the throttle, etc. Say for example we want to compare to another rider, and we're in Michael's dashboard. We click on this comparison button, and then what it does is we've got the drill. We can select each drill. So you'll see some information here that's being displayed on the video screen. So we've got lean angle, which is obviously everybody wants to know what their lean angle is, and it's quite a useful metric. You can see the weight on the front and the rear tires, and this is super useful because weight is grip. So if you look at Giuseppe over here, you'll see that he's really getting the bike to pitch back and forward. We tried to avoid the data logging in the squiggly lines because it kind of confuses people. But we do have a little bit in there. So for example, the braking is super useful to look at this. So the green is the instructor. So you can see the sort of G's up around 1.3. And then this is Bruce, about 0.8. So that's actually quite good. Like 0.8, that's a high G. But the things that the algorithm are looking for, that's quite a good score. When we're saying 50 is kind of the benchmark we need for road. We're not far off that. And Bruce is everybody's on a different bike that they're not used to. So we have to bring that into the equation too. But the key things here are, if you look how smooth Bruce's application is, and you look at the rate of application, it's quite good. And also that it's progressive. So once he started braking, he's basically kept the brake pressure on until he's come to a complete stop. So you can see here, Michael's is slightly better again. So we've got 1G. You can see the rate of application. It's kind of similar to the coaches. So that's a really good emergency stop. So what's the score? Yeah, that's, wow, 60. That's bloody good. But you can see how useful this is when you're talking to somebody about their braking, what they need to look at next. And of course, you can catch up with Mark online and review this and think about it for the next time. We just have a continuous improvement attitude. Like I say, this is V1 and there's a long way to go before we'll have the system on the open road. But we just want to talk to our customers and talk to you guys and get you feedback and say, hey, what about if it did this? I'd like to see this, or how we can improve. We always look for that feedback.
Overall, how does one translate a lot of these skills we've learned or we've been honing today to the road? That's the idea, isn't it? That's the intention.
Yeah, so I guess what we're doing is we're kind of recreating with these drills the sort of typical crash scenario from the road, so that then if it happens to you, then you have practiced that scenario here and built your skill level up so that reaction then on the road is intuitive and automatic to a degree. So there's some skills that you kind of keep in your back pocket. Like you don't go out and do emergency stop every day. No. Pulling 1.2 G's on your brake. You don't really ride like that on the road, but someday you might have to do that. And of course, to practice that skill here in the control environment so that it's automatic is important. But I think other parts of the skills development, like for example on the figure eight, we worked a lot, on your body position, Michael. Yeah. And I think stuff like that can help you on the road. We were kind of understanding about, the the dynamics of the bike and the mechanics of the bike, and how much easier it was to counter steer, you know, with your body like that. So there's bits that you'll take away that'll improve your riding on the road straight away, and then there's a lot of bits that are in your back pocket should you need them, should that hazard pop up.
So here in the UK, you have to do a certain level of course in order to get your license to ride the bike, to ride on the road legally. But you don't then, unless you actively go and search for advanced rider training, you don't get to understand the dynamics of a bike and what it can do, and therefore have faith in the grip. A lot of what you were teaching me earlier on was a front end grip bias. I think my takeaway from this is a lot of the training could be and should be around the bike and about what it can do, not necessarily you, because you as a human, you as the sort of the flesh and bones, can interpret and can develop your skills into what it can do. But until you understand what a tyre can do or what suspension, how it works, there's so many different levels of rider training, isn't there? And I guess this is an opportunity where someone can come along, motorcycle can come along and start to understand the dynamics, which I guess is where your engineering background comes into play, isn't it?
100%, yeah. That's kind of what we do. It's a fusion of those things, you know, from the riding. You know, I raced originally internationally, so a good understanding how to ride a bike, and then the engineering side, understanding about the motorcycle dynamics. And then I ran a school for 10 years, so you understand people, you know, the whole psychology of people and what the problems are as a motorcycle rider. And yeah, that's exactly spot on. You know, the grip available from tires is up here, but if people think the grip is down here, they'll kind of ride to that. And then that's where they have the problem of the, you know, survival reaction, you know, down here, where when they practice and do the drills here, they know, oh, I can lean in a bit more, I can brake a bit harder, there is more grip, and it builds that confidence in a controlled fashion.
Mega. Thanks so much for having me down.
No worries, thanks for coming.
Cheers.
It was good fun.
Okay, so we've seen the evidence, we've seen the results, and it's the end of an interesting day. And you know, I came here under the impression that there wasn't too much more to learn, but I was completely wrong, because you know, the fact is you're never too old to learn, you're never too experienced to learn. And even just the slightest little nuances, the slightest little things that I was taught today are going to make a big difference to my riding. Certainly in terms of hazard avoidance, and certainly in terms of if I practice so much more of what I've been taught today, then hopefully it'll save me one day. And even if it saves anyone one day, then it'll be all worthwhile. And of course, the opportunity here to do what these guys are doing is, you know, courtesy of GPS and of data and of advancements in technology, and thanks to GoPro for creating a device that these guys can interpret and use. And so with MotoDNA and Street Skills, it's still at a fairly junior level. There's still a lot of development to come. It's a great baseline, and I think that over the coming months and years, they'll become a much more developed system. So we'll, as riders, we'll all get more from it. Give it a go, see what you think, and let us know in the comments below, or look at any form of rider advanced training to make you a better rider. Like I said, I don't think you're ever too old or too experienced enough to learn more. Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for coming along, and we'll see you next time. Where shall I go from? MotoDNA and Street Skills 101, the course is still a fairly... I've learned a lot. I thought I knew it... No, that's not good. Yeah. I don't really know what to... Yeah, okay, yeah. Then it's done its job. What else would I like to say? Over the coming months and years, we'll see perhaps a more... Oh, why can't I get it out?